do that. And I think that would no, that wouldn't work unless I. I think I think what we'd have to do if we want to do this setup. It's like a headset, or when I'm talking, I actually turn off my own mic. Or no, when you're talking, I turn off my mic. Then we'd have to take turns. So let me just, we can try that. So let me talk for a second about the intro here. So the introduction or forward and some brief nostalgic ramblings. Um, so Final Fantasy 11 or Final Fantasy 12 was released 16 years ago, and I was 16 years old. So that's not true. I was 15 years old. Um, I don't really know what to write about this. So I think if you read this intro, it kind of just goes over why Final Fantasy 12 is different, and the main thing to me about Final Fantasy 12 is that it's different. So when it came out, um, like it was very fucking different, right? Like nobody knew what was going on with this game. It wasn't like Final Fantasy 7. It wasn't like Final Fantasy 8. It wasn't like Final Fantasy 9 in its classic way. It wasn't like really any other Final Fantasy game. It had a very unique setting, and everything was very different. And even like the composer and the art was fucking different as well. And I think that was the what I'm trying to get at here is that that was I think the main reason the game wasn't super successful in the West was that it was just immediately different. Um, I don't think this is very well written. This is the first essay that I ever wrote for this thing. It's the first essay that's for on computer games. So I don't think this is a very well written essay, and I think I go off the deep end explaining way too much about the plot and things that I shouldn't. Um, while we're here, I'll go over my. Um, I mean, I actually don't think there's anything redeeming about this essay, to be honest. It goes over very specifically about how the game is played. It doesn't make any sort of artistic point, which is what I try to do in my later stuff, or literally everything after this. It's literally just very bare bones, and it's got a lot of nice visuals, and I think it explains how the game plays very well, but it's very clinical in that way and boring to read. So, um, with that in mind, I would not recommend anybody to read this essay. Um, you could go to the end. There's like a few standout lines. One of them I need to think is hold on, let me control F it. Yeah, this is a standout line that I'll read, but I don't think I did it very well. I think if I wrote this essay now, I would have written this part a lot better. But this is my favorite part. The new quickening system, which replaces limit breaks of past games, also utilizes the miss gauge and is a significant downgrade from limit breaks in every way. Quickening are essentially QuickTime events that can be chained together with other characters' quickening attacks to perform combo finishers for massive damage. The problem with quickenings is that they are simply not cool to look at, and they take too long to chain. Remember when Squall lifted his blade to the heavens, summoning a massive beam that dropped down on his foes, zooming out to show the beam landing on the planet? Or when Zell ran around the world a few times before punching his opponent? Well, now Vaughn just throws a tornado at the monster. I think I like that line. I don't think I deliver it well. I think I read too much in that, but that part where now Vaughn just throws a tornado at the monster. This is like this encapsulates Final Fantasy 12. I think Vaughn throws a tornado at the monster, and that's pretty much it. Like you can see him down here. I've got the visual. And all this stuff is from stuff that I recorded from my Switch. But you can see here Vaughn throws tornado at the monster. And this is pretty much Final Fantasy 12. I would say if I had to pick like a specific thing about the game that described it, it would be that Vaughn throws the tornado at the monster. Um, okay, that was it. I'll mute myself and then you can talk, and then I'll mute now.
All right, cool. No, I think I really like this essay first. I thought it set the stage. like I think I'm just gonna I'm gonna you can't see this, but I'm gonna put a Google timer up for like a minute because like maybe 2 minutes. 'Cause I don't want to. I will talk too long because I talk all day. 2 minute timer. So that I can talk for like fucking like 20 minutes. So I got 2 minutes on the clock. That's enough. Okay, so some things I liked about this first essay that set the stage for me, like entering, like, I kind of, okay, you set the bar, like, that I have to meet. So, um, first off, you set like a staple for yourself, right, with your titles, starting with introduction or a forward and some brief nostalgic ramblings. I really like that. The or there, I've seen that like several times. Like most recently, I think like the second or third episode of Twin Peaks is called that. I'm gonna look it up real quick. Twin
So
Peaks.
yeah, hold on for a second, just to interrupt you. I got that idea from that movie. I think it's called Doctor Strangelove, or How I Learned to Stop
Oh,
Worrying
that was
About
my other
Things.
reference. Yes, that was my other reference. That was the one you brought it because I forgot what the other one was. Yes, and that's probably where David Lynch took it. Right. David Lynch. This episode 2 of Twin Peaks is called Zen or the Skill to Catch a Killer. So that's really cool. Um, and yeah, your excellent use of graphics and like all like the really nice gameplay footage that perfectly highlights the points that you're trying to make. That was all very effective. And then ultimately, yeah, right. Like Vaughn is he throws tornadoes at the monster. Uh, I love 12. I liked reading it because I've played 12 not that well. Some people might think it's a long time, but like 5 years ago, I did a really thorough playthrough of 12. Um, and yeah, it's a great game. I almost thought of it a little bit as the like a FF8 too, if that makes sense. Like it's just kind of weird and like kind of violating some of the rules, it, but at the same time being pretty fun to play. While also lacking Zell running around the planet like a couple times. Like I forgot about that. I was really glad that you reminded me, and that was a few minutes. So, do you have anything you think about some of those comments?
Um, yeah, I think I agree. I did a decent job with the visuals. I don't think I do a bad job with visuals most of the time. I think I did a good job here. Uh, I guess just kind of like showcasing what I was talking about. But again, it just goes into like the clinical nature of the essay, which is like I take way too much time explaining like how things work. Like right here, like I would probably never write something like this now, which is, well, you can select character actions from the classic blue menu. Once you select attack, your character will auto attack until the monster is dead. Um, yeah, I don't know. Like it's
No,
just
I
I
agree.
agree.
I agree with you there. Right. I agree that I like that adjective clinical. I think that's pretty good. Um, but yeah, because people that play it, they don't need you to tell them that you press X and the menu comes up and then you press A button. I feel the same way. I sometimes think that I hate that I don't put enough of that stuff, but I think I'm thinking wrong, right? Like you're right that like people that either they're gonna play it and they will figure that shit out, or they've already played it and they don't need to know in Rant.
Yeah, they don't need to know for sure. Nobody needs to. Hold on, give me a second. I gotta check something.
I'm gonna grab a beer real quick. So I'll be 30 minutes. I got maybe 30 more minutes. I'm gonna go to sleep, but I'm gonna grab another drink. BRB. All right, I'm back. Are you still messing around with stuff? Oh, you're gone.
All right, sorry about that. I'm back. I had to feed the boy.
I'm back. The boy. Hell yeah. God bless the boy. No, I'm looking back at this. Next time when we do this like for real or when we do the next one, um, I want to make sure I have some time. I want to read it first, like make notes, that way I have some things I can, because this is such a big, all our writings really, they're so big that we need, it's hard to read
Yeah,
on the fly. I do agree though, reading this, and I mean this in the best possible way. Like the first time I read this, it was really great. But just comparing this to both like yours and mine, like both of our like recent writings, like we've grown like so fucking much in just like 5 months, maybe. We've been doing this since like March. 5 months, we've gotten like I would say 4 times as good. I
yeah.
think it's awesome to
I would
see.
say I
Like,
would. I've I think I got a lot better just immediately after this, but with the Tactics Ogre review is a lot better than this one. Like I don't know, leaps and bounds better, but it's still
yeah, immediately. Yeah,
it's
immediately. I'm looking at that one now. Yeah.
yeah, but it still suffers from just explaining shit too much, which I'm definitely
Mhm.
trying to get away from. Um, this is a here. Let me. This is a line that I liked. I like explaining stuff sometimes. Um, so hold on. I've tried to explain like how the game works in this paragraph. So I said, consider the following example. I had one gambit set for Ash that prioritized casting Decoy on Vaughn to make him the boss's primary target, and then I prioritized Ash's healing gambits over attacking gambits to keep Vaughn's HP topped off. In theory, this keeps the boss on Vaughn and keeps Vaughn alive. However, the boss would occasionally cast Silence on Ash, preventing her from casting Cure on Vaughn, which would result in Vaughn's death. To get around this obstacle, I had to add a new gambit to Ash of use Echo Herb when silenced so that Ash would cure herself of silence, enabling her to continue healing Vaughn and ensure his survival, thereby allowing the fight to be entirely automated. Since every fight has unique quirks, you need to constantly tweak your gambit sets to fit each situation. Um, so I don't know. I thought that was the most interesting thing about the game, and I think it's the one of the game's main redeeming qualities. And a lot of people didn't like the automation when the game came out, but I think it's cool. And you can see here this GIF that I made that shows just like a fight
Yeah.
being completely automated by exactly what I just said, where she's just casting Cure on him and then refreshing Decoy whenever it needs to be.
But
It
it's
does.
not that like you weren't doing this like this setup. And I think I'm hearing your point right. Like this setup that you have for this particular image here, it's not like this setup is just allowing you to just hold up on the joystick throughout the game, right? Like what's cool about it in that paragraph that you find is that the intricacy and the joy that comes from it is in tailoring the gambit system to the unique situation. Does that make sense? I think
Yeah,
that's what
yeah.
you're getting. Like that's
No,
the cool
that's
thing about
exactly
it.
it. Yeah, that's exactly it.
And some people like I guess didn't like that because I played that game twice for a lot. I definitely 100%ed it once, and even as a teenager when I first got it, I played it for like 80, 90 hours and beat it. Um, it's not easy to use the gambit system. It's easy at first, and it's not like terribly difficult, but you can't just it's not turn it on and beat the game. You got to be kind of smart about it.
Yeah, you definitely can't automate the game. So people say like you can automate the game. You can definitely automate like certain fights, or a lot of fights you can actually automate. But 90% of the time you need to get into the fight, and then whatever gambit like set you have is you're gonna die, and you need to like adjust it in some way. Like for this one, I could once I figured this out, I could just put the controller down and it would just beat the boss. But that's the cool thing about it is like it's kind of interesting to like I don't know mind your way through figuring out how to work the game system so that you can literally just put the controller down, and they'll just do everything that you told them to do, like you're playing God or something. I think that's cool. I think
It
it's a
is.
pro of the game.
Yeah, it's like chess in a way, I guess, or any kind of it's almost like a tactical RPG that like you try to predict beforehand and then put into action. Does that make sense?
Yeah, it does. Yeah, it's just like that.
And it makes sense, right? Because this fucking game is a Vonadil game, and of course they would approach it that way. That's I think that's a really cool observation.
It's an Evilise game, right? You said Von.
Yeah, Evilise. Sorry. Yeah, I didn't misspeak there. Evilise game, not Vonadil. That's Final Fantasy 11. I should really know that. But yeah, an Ivalice game. So it's a Final Fantasy Tactics like successor, and that's neat to think of it as if they like tried to take a tactical RPG and make it different and
Yeah, I didn't
weird.
think about that actually, but that's a good point.
I never thought about that either.
So
That's
when I was writing this
cool.
essay, I had a section about Vaughn. Basically, Vaughn sucks. And
He does.
anyways, one of the things that I put in there when I was writing it was like Vaughn was a last minute addition, to like capture a certain demographic of people, because the rumor is that like Bosch was like the main character, or he was supposed to be. Um, but they changed that because they felt he was like too old or like appealed to an older demographic. But I actually did a lot of research on that, and that's actually not true. Apparently, it's not true at all. And Vaughn was always planned, like even when the game was like in very early planning stages. So Vaughn was not a last minute addition, at least according to like a lot of the reviews and interviews that I read. So you've probably heard that rumor before. It's from what I could tell, it's not true. People just don't like Vaughn because he sucks, and they make a bunch of excuses, um,
Yeah.
for why he sucks. And you don't need to make up stuff, to explain why Vaughn sucks. Um, so he sucks for very obvious reasons that are outlined in this article. Um, yeah.
Yeah, I don't, and that's kind of like makes it worse for them, right? Because like if Vaughn was like day one, like this is the next, like okay, fucking Cloud. Everyone loves Cloud. The sword is too big to hold, and Cloud is just slicing, right? And it's like okay, Squall. He's got a gun in his sword, and then Zidane. He's basically Goku. It's awesome, and Goku's on the screen right now on the Twitch chat, so that makes sense, right? And then Titus, I will forever call him. That game's the best game ever made. You get all this really cool stuff, and you get Vaughn, who there's just like, I mean, that's disappointing to know. That if they started day one, like Vaughn's going to be the inheritor of like every main Final Fantasy character of all time, and we're just going to make him like in love with his sister essentially, and he wants to be a sky pirate. That's never really expanded on what that is. Piracy is looked down upon. Yeah, Vaughn sucks. He doesn't even look cool. Doesn't even look good.
No, I agree. Vaughn sucks. What did I write about him? I just forget. The first character we meet on our journey isn't technically Vaughn, but it might as well be. This line is because the first character you actually meet in the game is Rex, which is Vaughn's brother, who
Mhm.
dies very early on in the game. And that's like, whatever. Vaughn is a thieving street teen who dreams of piloting his own airship and becoming a sky pirate. His outfit and personality are reminiscent of Zidane Tribal, which I think is true. The protagonists of Final Fantasy IX, with the major difference being that Zidane was given a last name due to being a fully fleshed out character, whereas Vaughn has no last name. Like Zidane, he is loyal and has a strong sense of right and wrong, and Zidane also has a vivid backstory explaining how he lived, where he lived, and what he was doing before the events of the game, whereas Vaughn seemingly just didn't exist until he first popped up onto your screen. The majority of his death comes from his brother dying, which at the end of the Empire, which drives his revenge plot. Around the game's halfway point, Vaughn becomes completely irrelevant to the plot and feels more like a player insert than anything else. And I think this is the I think the main things about Vaughn is like there's a point where he meets Bosch, and Bosch is like Vaughn thinks that Bosch killed his brother or something, because that's like how the plot makes that's how the plot makes it look, because it's like it's Bosch's twin or whatever, right? And Vaughn is like, "You killed my brother," and Bosch is literally like, "No, I didn't." And Vaughn's like, "Okay." Like there's like one line where he's like no, and then like he says something else, and then Vaughn's just like, okay, yeah, I trust you. There's no like there's no characterization there where like he has to learn to trust Bosch or something. It like happens way too fucking quickly, and the impact of his brother's death is just like it's just used to push along the plot really, and Vaughn doesn't seem to give a shit about his brother later on. Um, at all. And I don't know. It's just weird. I don't think he has very much character. I think he's a bad character. I liked Pinello. I thought Pinello was good, and I think this sums it up. I like Pinello's personality. She's kind of vague and vacuous, but that's kind of how she is. She's just like a bubbly, dumb girl, and that works for me. Um, I think Ash is technically the main character of this game, right? Um, she has like a lot of plot, and the plot seems to revolve around her. I think the point that I make here is lightning is likely a combination of cloud and ash, which you can see like ash looks a lot like lightning, which came right after this, at least like several years later. Um, but lightning has edge to her, like cloud does. Um, ash is completely devoid of edge in any sort, right? She's just a normal girl. Anyways, yeah, I've been talking a lot. Your turn to talk.
Oh man, oh man. Um, I agree with basically all the statements. I like Lightning. I think Lightning's a neat character. I wish I could back that up. I can't. I haven't played those games in forever, and I haven't played all of them, and they're kind of hard to play these days if you don't have a computer. Um,
Which
Ash,
games are hard to play?
13. Like I don't have any way to play 13 or 13.2 or 3. I
Yeah, it's
think
like
they're
hard
on
to.
PC. I think so that they're probably not that hard to play. But besides that, I think they're only on PS3 or 360. Anyway, but I agree. I think Ash. I don't really remember like all the details of the plot, but I think Ash basically is the main character because it's like her. She's trying to regain the throne, right? Like she's the Hamlet of the story. She's the like her family's been. I don't know if it's deposed or whatever. I'm gonna look it up. I have to look it up. Or do you remember? Like, am I
Yeah,
completely off?
she like at the beginning of the game she gets married to some dude. I forget his name, but then he gets murdered during like a invasion. The Empire of Arcadia invades Dalmasca, kills her husband, um, and then basically Ash goes into exile as the pretty much the queen of Dalmasca, but she has to hide it because they'll probably try to kill her if they find out, because
Right.
like Arcades has taken over everything or whatever. Um, and the whole story is like her going back to Dalmasca and reclaiming it and kind of avenging her her dead husband. But there's also this like other plot line where she's like going into ruins and like talking to ancient beings, and the ancient beings are masquerading as her dead husband and like trying to influence her mind by being like, oh, you need to do this and this, but really they're trying to get her to destroy the world or some shit like that. um, and at the very last moment Ash realizes that they're not her dead husband, but just evil ancient beings. um, I don't know. Yeah, that's pretty much the plot. I think.
Yeah, she's the main character. She's the main character. Then I mean, I think I remember that, and yeah, she's so much more interesting. That's what is Vaughn at that point? Like, if she's the fucking, if she's the Oedipus, if she's the Luke Skywalker, if she's the inheritor of the lineage that has to go into exile and then make her way back. What is fucking Vaughn? The goddamn orphan. He's not even Superman. He's not Batman. He's the orphan that just wants to do crime, right? And then he learns to throw tornadoes at things.
Yeah, he just wants to do. He just wants to do crime. Yeah, he wants to be a pirate, and he wants to throw tornadoes at shit. I really don't
Like, Ash
understand.
is
Like,
so much cooler.
I don't understand where the tornadoes come from. Like, it's not explained. I think there's like a mist thing involved, but like, how is Vaughn like getting this tornado in his hand and throwing it? There's no explanation in the plot. Like, I guess there's no explanation for Squall, like being able to summon a big laser, but that's at least cool, right?
It's
Like,
cool, yeah.
yeah, there needs to be an
Cool.
explanation for dumb shit, and all the quickenings are dumb. So
And everything about Final Fantasy VIII is awesome. Like, I think Final Fantasy VIII is just an awesome game. 12 is also an awesome game, but it's just not as. Although it tries to be serious and makes no fucking sense at the same time, and that makes it less effective, I think.
yeah, I think the worst thing about 12 is that it's just actually very it's a very shallow game, and it has no point. Like, it doesn't make any sort of like overarching point. It doesn't make a philosophical point. Doesn't make any sort of artistic point. It's just like a political plot of bad emperor, evil emperor takes over
Yeah,
my world, and then I eventually just defeat them, and that's pretty much like what it is. And
yeah.
I don't know. It's just stupid to me. I think the most interesting characters are Balthier is probably the most interesting character, and he he's like the son of Sid, who's one of the main villains. He's got the most personality in the entire party. I don't care for his like character design too much, but he looks cool. So, or he doesn't look cool, but he is cool. I just don't like his design too much. That's
I'm
basically
thinking.
it. And the final boss is like a big angel mech guy. You know, whatever his name,
Yeah,
Vane turns into the angel mech or whatever, which is a callback to every other Final Fantasy game ever, where they turn into
yeah.
different types of, angelic demon beings. Just this one is, mech. Um,
I think when I play 12, I like 12 a lot, but like I don't feel good beating the final boss. And that's something that I think some of the better games that I've played in my life that they do. Like 12, when I fought Vayne, it was just okay, the graphics are good, the system is fine, I'm playing it, I'm beating it. There are games there are worse games than Final Fantasy 12 that I had more satisfaction from. Like I can't remember which game. I think it was a God of War game or something else where like there's a final boss and you can just beat his face in. Like basically the game will let you just press square over and over and over and over again. And there's no challenge there, but at the same time the story and the gameplay led you to like want to beat this motherfucker up. And then in Final Fantasy 12, I don't even know who Vayne is, right? He's the one dude that followed Ju's other brother. He's the guy that's causing all the trouble, but I don't hate him. I don't hate him the way I hated Sephiroth when I saw him kill Eris, or the way I hated the Empress, or any of the other bad villains in Final Fantasy games. Uh, that's the problem with 12. I think is there's no catharsis, right? When you beat it, it's like I beat Tiamat and all the goddamn hunts, and I don't feel any better. Even though it was beautiful, the music was good, the story was well told, but it was just kind of boring. I probably talked a lot. I'm sorry.
no, no, you're totally right. So Final Fantasy 12 is just like that for sure. When I fought Vayne, it was a very stupid experience, and it was not challenging because I guess I might have been a little bit over leveled. I didn't even try to grind like at all, so I just played the game as I thought I should have, and um, destroyed Vane very easily. Um, the sad thing about Vane is that there's a lot of potential there. He's a quote unquote smart villain. He should have like a motive, but he doesn't really have a motive. He's just evil when you get down to it. But he's conniving. He's like Sherlockian in that way, where he's kind of like thinks 3 steps ahead of people and like puts plots out to like trick people. But there's only like one time when he does that, and it's just a huge missed opportunity. You could see him as being a lot cooler villain, but he's just underutilized, and I don't know, it just sucks because of that. Um, yeah.
Is there any like you will remember better than I? Is there any parts where like I don't think nothing happens in that game? In Final Fantasy 12, between the beginning where some exciting shit happens and the end where some exciting shit happens, like no one's dying, no one's fucking like betraying each other. You find out that Balthier, they do the Luke Skywalker thing, right? It's Sid's his dad. I got to be missing something, but I just remember it being kind of boring because there's no goddamn surprises, nothing of weight in between the big battles, etc.
Yeah, there really isn't. Not really. Yeah, a lot doesn't happen in the game. You're right. I think I can't really think of anything specific that is really memorable in the game. There's Bosch's brother. There's some showdowns with him where Bosch fights his brother, and that's like 2 different boss fights. And then his brother does an about face at the end and actually helps you, and I think dies. And then Bosch takes up his brother's mantle. I think that's a cool scene, but it could have been done a lot better, and it happens really quickly. That's probably the coolest thing that happens in the game. But other than that, like you said, there's really not much there. Like you go to different places, you do these hunts. Um, it's all like talking to people, and then yeah, there's nothing super memorable about any of it, which is unfortunate. Like if I thought of Final Fantasy VII, I can remember something immediately that comes to my head, which is like Ares dying, right? But I can also remember other things like the weapons becoming alive. Like remember that? Like
Yeah.
and then they're flying around the world, and that's really cool. There's nothing
Or
like that.
underwater. Yeah.
Yeah, there's nothing like that in Final Fantasy 12 like at all. Um, so there's a lot of memorable things that I can remember about every game. Like Final Fantasy 8, at the end you're in like the fucking destroyed world, and like you've lost the Ragnarok and you have to re-find it and all this other stuff, and that's really
Yeah.
cool. Nothing like that happens in 12. In 6, there's of course the world gets destroyed. In 5, there's a similar thing where you go to like the dark world or the mirror world.
Yeah.
In 4, Cecil becomes a fucking paladin from being a Dark Knight. That's really
Yeah.
fucking
And then you
cool.
go to hell, right? You go to
Yeah.
or like the underworld. Yeah.
Yeah, like there's so many cool things that happen in every game that came before 12 that I don't know. 12 is just a really big disappointment, and a lot of people say that 12 is like underrated. And I wish I could be one of those people that's like, oh, it's actually a really good game. It's just I don't think it is. I don't think there's much there, unfortunately, to say that. Like, it's unfortunate, but that's just how it goes, I guess.
You got me thinking, right? Because I like 12. I played it. I've only played it twice. I played 16 recently, and I'm sure we'll talk about that probably in a few months. But oh, that's hard. I'm now reconsidering like a 12 versus 16. Like 12, I want to like, but it just you're right. I'm right. It just there's not a lot of excitement. There's a lot of tedium. There's a lot of experimentation. There's a lot of risk, like with the gambit system. I think I don't know. I like the hunts. I like Yasma. I think it's worth playing. It's definitely not the worst Final Fantasy. I don't think. Uh, I think the people were trying. I don't think they were trying to cash out. I don't think they were trying to be lazy. I think maybe their risk failed. It's hard. Everything you said was good. I can't argue with any point that you've made.
I don't think Final Fantasy 12 is a bad game. It's just
Right.
it's just not a like a it doesn't live up to the standard that was set with every game before it. Um,
Mhm.
like especially 10, which was the big game before it, right? So 10 is like amazing, and ten's probably one like from a narrative perspective and characters and like all that. 10 is probably one of the best, if not the best, Final Fantasy game, or at least single player Final Fantasy game, in my opinion. Um, and I mean, maybe I could write about that one day, but I think 10 is just a
Yeah.
really good game.
I
I think,
agree. I
yeah,
agree. I love 10. I agree. I'm scared to write about it. I love it so much.
yeah, I think 10's really good. And then coming from 10, you have 11, which is like one of the best games ever made, but we don't count that. So we have to go to 12, um, and it just doesn't live up to to anything. There's nothing. There's not, and it's not a bad game. It's fun. I had fun with it. I had fun doing the gambits, and I had fun exploring the world. Um, but as a Final Fantasy game, and I don't know, it's just when Final Fantasy, when I was done with 12, I was like, I'm done. Like I'm glad I'm done with this. I don't want to play it again, etc. Like I don't know. Maybe I have a good conclusion. I don't remember what my conclusion here is. Let's see. I think in this article I outlined the main issue with my game was, yeah, I think the pacing of Final Fantasy 12 suffers because of that, and I think 50% of anyone's gameplay time in Final Fantasy 12, did I say 11 a second ago? I meant 12. In Final Fantasy 12 is just walking around from place to place. And I can understand that with 11 or any MMO. One, they're trying to steal money from you, but also it just makes the world feel like a little bit more real, like in real life. You would have to walk if you lived in a medieval time. But in a single player RPG, you shouldn't have to walk for 30 minutes through the Wester Sand and then back to the Crystal to turn in a hunt. I just don't. I just think that's stupid. I mean, Oblivion figured this out, and it came out around the same time. So, I mean, even Morrowind had better fast travel. So, there you go.
I'm just in awe of the great fight, right? Right. Are you seeing the great fight between Cooler and Vegeta?
Yeah, I am now.
It's fucking awesome. It's a really good fight. I love the off yellow. That's the point. I love like original Super Saiyan Goku, but like in some of these classic older movies and maybe around the Cell Saga, that like fucking almost white yellow Vegeta right there with the hair. That's better than Final Fantasy 12. The
Oh yeah,
color,
for
the
sure.
coloring. It's just literally just the hashtag and the numbers is better than all of Final Fantasy 12. And I love Final Fantasy 12. But Vegeta
Yeah, the
right there,
hashtag and the
Goku,
numbers.
as a Pieta there. That's fucking. Is this cool? Is this Cooler 1 or Cooler 2 that we're watching?
Um, I don't know. Is Mecha cooler like the original? Hold on. Give me a second. I think this is the second one because we get cooler and he's in like his Frieza's second form or third form or whatever. You know what I'm talking about?
Mm,
Like the big buff one.
yeah.
And then we get Mecha Cooler, who kind of mirrors Frieza's mecha form. Yeah, this is the second movie. The artwork is so good in these movies. Like this is the ripe Dragon Ball Z time. Compared to Super, it's just night and day. It's just terrible.
It is. It really is.
Hold on one second.
You have elk babies up.
So yeah, I think I've learned a good bit from this stream, and I think what I need to do is get a clip-on mic that's probably Bluetooth so that I can talk through it, um, and that probably won't pick up your voice as much if I play you from the TV here. I'm not sure. I really don't want to wear a headset though. I don't like headsets. Are you still there?
Well, we don't. Maybe we could do. We gotta figure it out. But like sometimes you'll be on screen, sometimes I'll be on screen, or we could do both of us. What does it figure it out? Like however it works.
No, I could put
I don't.
you on
I
screen as well, and I think what we would do if we did that was we would use Discord video chat, and then I would just put the Discord video chat on the stream, and that way it shows
okay.
both of us at the same time. Um, Instead of two separate like video streams, it would just be through Discord.
I think this has, like, to be honest with you, like to be completely fucking honest with you, I think this has tremendous potential. I really think it does.
I do too. We just need to get like people to watch it. We have no engagement on Mastodon right now for this, so I don't know.
They'll get there eventually. Like all, like here's the thing. I figure, like I'm talking to you, goddamn, anyways, right? And so if I have to click a fucking couple programs extra to talk to you, if I clicked on the screen right now and I saw introduction or a forward and some brief nostalgic ramblings and DBZ and you, I would watch it. I
Yeah,
really
this
would.
is. I think this is immediately interesting. I too would be like, "What is going on here?"
And we're doing it anyway. I mean, it's really just a presentation of what we've been doing for the past 16 to 17 years anyway. So
Hmm.
it's only a little bit more work.
Yeah, I agree.
And I do think, I think the website is good. Like sometimes I'm being funny and just messing around, but like I really sincerely do think like every article on the website like is really really good.
Yeah, it
And
has merit on some level, on different levels. Yeah.
yeah, and it's they've always gotten better in with time. This is gonna be great.
Yeah, it is great. I think it is great. But I don't think
All
anything's
right.
been written that's as good as this. Everyone knows Mario is cool as fuck, but who knows what he's thinking? Who knows why he crushes turtles? And why do we think about him as fondly as we think of the mystical Dr. Pepper, perchance? I believe it was Kant who said experience without theory is blind, but theory without experience is merely intellectual play. And Mario exhibits experience by crushing turrets all day, but he exhibits theory by stating, "Let's a go, keep it up, baby." When Mario leaves his place of safety to stomp a turdy, he knows that he may die. And yet, for a man who can purchase lives with money, a life becomes a mere store of value, a tax that can be paid for. Much as a rich man feels, any law with a fine is a price. We think of Mario as a hero, but he is simply a one percenter of a more privileged variety, the life kind. What? I like how the guy like I know like this guy edited his own paper like this,
Yeah.
but when he says a life becomes a mere store of value, and then the guy writes okay question mark or it's a die, or he knows that he may die okay question mark. That's a very valid point that needs to be established for the next line. So I don't know why you're saying okay for that. You know, like this is a necessary line. He knows that he may die, and yet, for a man who can purchase lives with money, both of those points directly correlate with each other. You need both of those. Like I don't know what the okay question marks for, but whoever wrote that, if he's a real person, is an idiot. That's just my opinion.
I'm trying to look at it. Well, are you at the part where he says "keep it up, baby"? Are you at that part?
No, where he says when Mario leaves his place of safety to stop a turret, he knows that he may die, and then the guy has die scratched out. Or no, die. I don't actually know what the OK's for, but I thought it was
Oh,
for
okay,
the
okay.
die.
Okay, here it is. When Mario leaves his place of safety to stomp a turtle, he knows that he may die. And yet, for a man who can purchase lives with money, a life becomes. So I think the way I took that, and it's not strong no matter what. But I took the point he was making. He's like, okay, Mario can buy lives, So at that point, life is just like how much money you have. And the teacher's like, okay, you said that, but what point are you making?
Oh, that's what you took? Okay, hold on.
But the die, okay, the scratch on die is
It's
because
because it's
DI,
capitalized,
the
right?
D should not be capitalized.
Yeah, it's because it's capitalized. Yeah, you're right.
It should be a lowercase d. I don't know why they scratch out stomp-a-turdy. That's necessary information.
You think so?
But that's funny to think that the okay attaches to the die. Because, like, I don't know, this whole essay, it's really good. Perchance, it's really good. A tax that can be paid for.
A tax that can be paid for.
All right, I do have to. Yeah, all my beers are drunk. I gotta go to sleep. Um, let's get on tomorrow. Let's let me know what you think about this and whether how good we did. And I'm gonna talk to you in the morning. Text me, get with me on Discord or something.
Alright, I'm gonna review the video and see like how bad the audio and the echo is and stuff. I think it might be really bad, so
Probably
we'll
horrible.
see.
We'll figure it out. I think it was a good first run.
Yeah, I think so too. Alright, good night.
All
Have a
right,
good sleep.
night,
Yep.
buddy.